So, if you're an innovator, you know this feeling, right? You've poured years into a groundbreaking product, you've filed your patents, and that 20-year clock officially starts ticking. But then comes the regulatory review. And every single day you spend waiting for that approval is a day of your patent protection just vanishing into thin air.
So what's the plan? What are you going to do about it? How do you fight back and reclaim that precious time? Well, listen, there's a really powerful tool you can use, but, and this is a big but, it comes with a catch, a really specific, super high-stakes rule. Let's break it down.
All right, so the hero of our story here is something called patent term extension. You'll hear it called PTE. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a fairness doctrine. The system gets that you shouldn't be penalized for the years you spend stuck in regulatory limbo. So PTE lets you tack some of that lost time back onto your patent's life. It's your shot to get back the protection you earned. But, and you knew there was a but, it's not quite that simple.
And this is the absolute kicker. You get exactly one patent extension for each approved product. That's it. No do-overs, no mulligans, no second chances. You have to pick which single patent in your entire portfolio gets this incredibly valuable extension. And that one choice, it can change absolutely everything.
Okay, let's dive into the stakes here. Because we're not just talking about some minor bit of paperwork. This one choice, it's a huge strategic move, and it has massive financial implications. So what does that actually look like in the real world? I mean, for any company, but especially if you're a startup, even one extra year of being the only game in town, that can mean millions and millions of dollars. It's the kind of revenue and market position that builds serious investor confidence. So choosing the right patent to extend, that's not just a win for your lawyers, that's a massive win for the entire business.
Yeah, this chart really shows you the balancing act we're talking about. You start out with that full 20-year patent term feeling great, but then, bam, regulatory review can just gobble up a massive chunk of it. We're talking 8, 9, sometimes even 10 years. PTE is what lets you claw back up to 5 of those years, kind of balancing the scales. It's the system's way of saying, hey, you shouldn't be punished for playing by the rules.
Okay, so when the stakes are this high, you've got to know where the landmines are. Too many companies lose out on this extra protection because of a few common and totally avoidable mistakes. Let's walk through some of these common traps.
Okay, this is probably one of the biggest pitfalls I see. It's what I call the disconnect problem. See, you file your patent way back at the beginning, right? With these broad claims covering your amazing initial idea. But then, over years of R&D and testing, the product changes, it evolves. So if the patent you try to extend describes that early concept, but the product that actually got approved is this more refined version, boom, your PTE application can get flat out denied. The rule is simple. The patent has to cover the approved product. Exactly.
And then there's the clock. And this thing is unforgiving. The very second your product gets that green light from the regulators, a 60-day timer starts ticking. You have to get your PTE application in within that window. No extensions. If you miss that window by even one day, just one day, the opportunity is gone. Forever.
And it doesn't stop there. There are other mistakes that can be just as bad. You've got teams working in silos, right? The IP folks aren't talking to the regulatory people. Huge mistake. Or maybe you have a strategy of filing a whole bunch of really narrow patents. Sounds smart, maybe, but it completely backfires when you realize you can only extend one of them, leaving your product super vulnerable. And probably the biggest one is just treating this whole thing like it's some last-minute paperwork. It's not a formality, it's a core strategic decision.
All right, enough doom and gloom. Let's flip this around and talk about the solution. Because look, the smartest companies out there, they are not leaving this to chance. They have a proactive playbook that turns this whole rule into a serious competitive weapon. So a winning strategy, it doesn't start when you get approval. It starts on day one. It's all about thinking about your final commercial product as early as you possibly can, and then drafting your patent claims so they match up perfectly. And that means your teams have to be in sync. R&D, IP, regulatory, all of them. And you've got to get that paperwork ready to go before you even get approval. That way, when that 60-day clock starts, you're not scrambling, you're just executing. So, what does this actually look like in practice? Let's run a little simulation. Imagine this table is your patent portfolio. Okay, so patent A, it's way too broad. It's not going to fly. Patent C, well, that covers how you make the thing, not the thing itself, so that's out. But look at patent B. That's the sweet spot. It claims the specific final formulation that got the green light. Plus, it has a later expiration date, which means you can maximize the time you get back. See, this is the kind of thinking that needs to happen way before that 60-day window ever opens.
Okay, you want a pro-level tactic? Let's talk about something called continuation filings. Honestly, the easiest way to think of these is like strategic insurance policies for your patent. So as your product inevitably changes and evolves during R&D, you can file these continuations that have updated claims. It's brilliant, really. It keeps all your options on the table, and it basically guarantees you'll have a patent that perfectly mirrors the final approved product, no matter what twists and turns the development took.
So let's bring it all home. The big takeaway here is that this one patent rule, it's not some scary limitation you should be afraid of. When you really get it, when you plan for it from the beginning, it actually becomes a strategic tool you can use to build a seriously powerful, long-lasting competitive moat around your product. And the payoff? Oh, it is huge. I mean, we're talking about up to 5 extra years where you own the market. No competition. That translates into maximum revenue, a much higher company valuation for investors, and a war chest of cash that you can plow right back into funding the next big thing. It's a virtuous cycle.
All right, so let's boil this all down. What are the key things you absolutely have to remember? First, you get 1 shot at this per product. 1, so you've got to make it count. Second, your patent claims need to be a perfect mirror image of the product that got approved. No wiggle room. Third, plan for PTE from day 1. This is not a last-minute checklist item. It is a long-term strategy. And finally, whatever you do, never, ever miss that 60-day filing window. Set 1,000 alarms if you have to.
Which really leaves us with one final question to think about. Protecting your invention today, that's one thing. But making sure that protection lasts long enough for you to actually see its full value, that's everything. Think of it this way. A strong patent portfolio gets you a ticket to the game. A smart PTU strategy is how you win it.